Joe fans? This is Christopher Hilt, and I'm here with another edition of Joe Takes. Today we're looking at a very special character, not just to me, but to the Joeverse as a whole. Today we're talking about Cobra Commander from the Hilt, and in order to do that, we gotta go back to where it all began for me. A lot to talk about with Cobra Commander, so let's get right into it. When I first started collecting in 1985, I had a Cobra officer and a Cobra trooper that I had acquired back in '82, but I didn't even realize I had them until about 6 months after I was collecting. I pulled them out of my old bin of toys and found my Cobra trooper and my Cobra officer, and they were pretty much tore up because I had found them in a store and just bought them, and I liked them a lot, even back when I was 3 years before. However, when I first got my my Joes, like I said with my Flint video, Flint was my original commander from my Joes. I didn't get Cobra Commander right away. He was really a hard figure to find for some reason. So I mailed away for the hooded Cobra Commander, like most of us did back then. And at the same time I mailed away for Cobra Commander, I also ordered a his tank, and that actually came first, oddly enough. And so for the longest time, my Cobra leader was the his driver. I read his file card, and I was like, this dude, he looks really cool. Now, of course, my example has no thumbs, and I really played the heck out of this character and this figure. But I managed to keep him relatively intact over the years. Now, a few months later, I got my hooded Cobra Commander. It was just odd that I got the one part of the order at a different time, but it was definitely a different era, especially from Hasbro back then, and mail order. Mail order was way different. But I eventually did get my hooded Cobra Commander, and like the his driver, that figure just, I played with it to death, literally. And well, over the years, broken thumbs, broken hand. All I have left is the chest piece. Even the head part, the part that connects to the body, broke. And I tried to put a screw in it and make it work, but it just never did. So his character, and I didn't even realize this until I started thinking about this video, I evolved into my Cobra officer that I had, but the Cobra trooper body completely fell apart after a few years of play and stuff. And so I would take the Cobra officer and use him as my Cobra second in command all the time. But that body too, eventually, I still have it with my Cobra trooper head on it, but I took the Cobra officer head and put him on what was left of my hooded Cobra Commander body. And then the Cobra Commander that came out in 1994, I actually ended up getting a second one. So what I did was I used the arms, crotch, and legs from the second one to build my Cobra officer, who was, like I said, my second in command of Cobra. Now, naturally, they brought out, for the modern figures, they brought out a new his driver, which this particular version of the his driver is the coolest they put out. And it was neat that they brought him out on a card. Also, it was kind of interesting that this was my first real major Cobra vehicle, and my first major Joe vehicle was the Dragonfly. And they brought both Wild Bill and the his driver out in a carded example for the 25th anniversary. So it was nice to pick those up on card. Also, they brought the Cobra officer out on the 25th anniversary, and they did a really good job with the modern figures. I did want to bring up that I even tried to paint this Cobra officer. I dropped his gun, but it just, I don't know, it didn't turn out very well. I did a little black on the officer badge, and it just, I don't know, the paint I used, I've never been good at that. I can't even, I don't paint. It's not something I really do. I was never even like a color by numbers guy or anything like that. It's not something I really got into. So, and I really didn't get another Cobra Commander figure until way later. I got the 87 version, which was armored, but the one I used for my hooded Cobra Commander came out in '92, I think it was, and it was this guy, and it was the Talking Battle Commander, and the next year's version is the one I used to make my Cobra Officer, and I have that other the other Cobra Commander, but I prefer that one for some reason, which is weird because I generally like the darker version of Cobra Commander over the light. But the armored Cobra Commander I thought was pretty cool. Now, I had that little backpack, but I looked all over in my stuff. It could be somewhere else. It's one of those accessories that I just never really cared for. Okay, so I did eventually acquire a helmeted Cobra Commander, and this became my go-to guy for leading Cobra. This is from the '83, so he's got the swivel arm battle grip, and he's definitely not a straight arm example, but who knows where I acquired this. There was a time where my brother and my nephew would just bring me figures that they'd trade for because they like to watch me. They like to watch me play. But when the 25th anniversary came around, they did put out a really nice version of Cobra Commander, but I actually got this one first. That has from the G.I. Joe comic book up here in the corner. And I was really, really wanting a carded example with the 25th anniversary banner up here. And so I finally found one, and I picked that up. Now, this one came with the mass device part, which was kind of cool. I ended up with all of those parts, but never the full mass device. That fifth section of the mass device only came out online, and at the time I didn't even have access to that. But I did have the hooded version of the 25th anniversary. And every figure I have carded, I have out. So I have the whole 25th anniversary set, but not all of them carded. That was pretty expensive to try and do. Now they did bring Cobra Commander out in the recent retro line, and it was pretty good. I mean, not all of the retro line figures, the exclusive ones were great. The Duke figure definitely had some issues, but Scarlet was great, and Cobra Commander was pretty good. So that takes us up to the classified figure, and the box art on this is really good. I mean, the way they drew the artist on this was they just did a really good job, and the side art here, I mean. Look at those Night Ravens at the top. I mean, that just was such a nice touch. I've never really showed off the back of the box much, but because it's the same old thing. And of course, he was number 6 in the line. I did make sure that I had all the proper accessories for the characters using the Bellomo's guide. I think a lot of us Joe collectors use this. I was thinking about doing a Hitler Books review on this. I don't think I've ever seen a review. I've seen people use it and reference it all the time, but I don't think I've ever seen a review. So I might do that. I'm knowing my luck, somebody will beat me to it, but it won't matter. It'll just be my opinion on the book anyway. So that takes us to of course, the star of my little video earlier, the classified Cobra Commander. Now, this figure has its ups and downs. I mean, there's parts I really like. I love these gauntlets. I wish they would have come with the Venom pistol. I don't know why they didn't. I mean, this pistol is interesting, but it's not his original Venom pistol, which it fits right into his back. And I don't know why they went away from that. I mean, it snapped right in there, and most of the time it stayed in pretty good. And now, over time, it would get really loose, of course, and pop out. I did like his sword. This sword is pretty decent. I mean, and the snake-headed handle. I can't. You can see it, but I can't. was really cool. But then, you know, and it just the way they put things together on the classified. A lot of it, you could tell that they took some time to put them together, and it's nice. And this I could deal without this cape. I mean, if you're gonna do a cape, do a cape. That's why I really want the Snake Supreme version of this figure. But yeah, that was kind of expensive, and maybe later on, if I have the money, I'll get it. But these boots, oh my goodness, they come up to these little points. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but at first I'm like, why would they do that? And then I thought about it, and I'm like, Cobra Commander's just pretentious enough to wear boots with little points, so it fits the character. I don't know if it's good on the figure, but it fits the character. He always had this way of speaking too, even in the comics or the cartoon. Now, Cobra Commander, just without him, there really is no real American hero Joe-verse. Cobra Commander, to me, made the entire series. He's a little spoiler here for some upcoming videos, but he's definitely my favorite character in G.I. Joe, all Joe or Cobra. I don't know, there was just something about him. He basically shows everybody how not to be. His character, especially in the cartoon, and everybody saw him as cowardly in the cartoon, but if you really take a look at it, at least in my opinion, everybody around him was cowardly, and yeah, he ended up with shouting retreat because all his Cobras were genuinely running away at that point anyway. You know, a leader can't lead without troops, so, you know, I think it was less being a coward and more of, how dare you run away without me ordering you to run away, you know, type thing. So I think he really meant to order them to run away instead of let them run away on their own. You know, he's a very controlling character. Now, in the cartoon, Chris Latta did an awesome job doing his voice. So iconic. No one can think of Cobra Commander without hearing that voice, and it's fun to try to do, you know. So we had fun with that in our little skit earlier. But Cobra Commander just, to me, epitomizes, if that's even the right word, everything about what G.I. Joe versus Cobra is. You know, in the comics, Hama, man, he really his version of Cobra Commander, I don't see them as the same character in the cartoon and the comics. They don't act the same. They don't. Cobra Commander in the comic book is ruthless. Cobra Commander in the cartoon is diabolical and sinister, but he was more comic relief in the cartoon than he was a sinister leader. And it was always, when Cobra Commander was on the screen, it was nice to get a good laugh out of him. But in the comics, it was kind of the other way around. Rarely did Larry Hama write him as a buffoon. He did on occasion, and that was probably influences. I know that he said he didn't watch the cartoon, but I'm sure that through other people and other mediums, he was influenced a little bit by people saying how much of a buffoon Cobra Commander always acted in the cartoon. But in the comic book, Cobra Commander was always very sinister, and I think that when they tried to go the route with this armored Cobra Commander, and they had Fred the Seventh actually shoot him, and he was supposedly dead for years in the comics, 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4. it was nice to see Cobra Commander come back and it actually be the real Cobra Commander. And who knows, is it really? I mean, Hama could change that. I like Larry Hama's writing style. He changes things on a whim. And it could go either way, but the way Larry Hama had Cobra Commander speak, it was always pretentious and over the top, using words that nobody else uses. And I really like that about Cobra Commander. Some of my favorite Cobra Commander moments in the cartoon, I think my favorite of all was from Menace of the Mass Device, and it's kind of sad because Cobra Commander had so many great moments, but my favorite moment was when he took his snake-headed staff and threw it and hit Destro in the back of the head. It showed that he wasn't afraid of Destro. I mean, Destro intimidated him, yes, but that's not the case in the comic book at all. Cobra Commander was the only one that ever seemed to intimidate Cobra Commander in the comic book was Snake Eyes, and I don't know who Snake Eyes doesn't intimidate, but maybe Scarlet. But Cobra Commander in the comics, I think my favorite moment with him was when he came back and revealed himself and pretty much executed all the ones he considered traitors in Cobra, and locked them in the freighter, and the landlocked freighter is what they called it for years. And I know a few people escaped from that, but it was interesting that he just was in the comics. He was that ruthless. He would just kill even his own men if he thought they betrayed him. And in the cartoon, you don't get that, but definitely in the comic book you do. And I think Cobra Commander, the progression of his character over the years, has continued to get better and not worse. I mean, yeah, they've had some iterations of him. I mean, let's see, the Spy Troops movie. I like that movie because it's the only one written by Larry Hama. The animated, it's kind of computer-generated animation. Cobra Commander was a little buffoony and over the top of that, but yet he still had that Hamaverse feel to it a little bit. I think the Valor vs. Venom was a bit better put together as an animated movie, and the music from that was really good too on both of those. But Cobra Commander's character in all those movies, it seemed like they always liked to in the animated series and in the animated movies have Cobra Commander being ousted by one of his subordinates, and that really never happened in the comics so much. I mean, with Serpentor a little bit, but Serpentor really didn't take over until Cobra Commander left, and then when he supposedly came back, Cobra Commander just even as Thread the Seventh just took right back over, which led to one of the coolest story arcs in G.I. Joe, the first Cobra Civil War, which was really cool. Now, as far as Cobra Commander versus Serpentor, yeah, so Serpentor was definitely larger and tougher and more intimidating, but even Cobra Commander wasn't afraid of him. I mean, yeah, he was preserving his life by not trying to always kill Serpentor, but every opportunity he got, he seemed to undermine Serpentor in the cartoon. But in the comics, he never really he dealt with Serpentor a little bit right before he supposedly was killed and then came back, and Serpentor was dead before Cobra Commander made his big comeback. But I'm sure he'd have had maybe the whole Cobra Civil War, if you think about it, was instigated by him. As Tomex and Zaymot were on Serpentor's side supposedly, but yet we're always on Cobra Commander's sides. So it's the whole, like I said, the whole Cobra hierarchy is kind of hard to fathom sometimes. But as far as Cobra's concerned, it's interesting how Cobra Commander just always seems to have these instant funds, and I'm gonna do a video just on Cobra in a couple of weeks. Next week I'm going to do one specifically on the entire G.I. Joe team. I probably should have started that way instead of doing the individual ones, but I think it is good because I got used to kind of being in front of the camera and talking my figures and my opinions on the characters. But as far as Cobra Commander is concerned, he's my favorite. I like a lot of the different iterations of him. I don't think they're the same character per se. I definitely view the Homoverse, the Cobra Commander, and that is different from the cartoon, and in my own head canon, as they say. But no matter whether it's your verse, Homoverse, the animated verse, Cobra Commander was a mainstay and always has been, and most probably always will be. I did want to talk a little bit about the issue of why Hasbro doesn't want to do a hooded Cobra Commander. This was my first Cobra Commander as a kid. Whether he had his helmet or hood on in the cartoon or the comics, it really didn't matter. It makes him a more imposing figure, and he's supposed to be a villain, so why does he have to be politically correct? I don't get it. I hope they do bring out a classified hooded version. I know people have customized heads and stuff to put on there, but I like to just get the main line of stuff. I mean, I like I said, I do a little customization with just like Frankensteining figures, but for the most part, I like to. I'm just weird that way, a little OCD maybe. With that, we'll see you next time for my take on the G.I. Joe team. Thanks for watching. Don't get out.
Guns, ammo, tanks, helicopters, jets. I bet I can convince some vets. I will be seen as the enemy. Either way, I will live in infamy. To a neighborhood near you, framed by my crimson garden red. The red and the blue you will dread. Take a gander, I am your commander. Specialty, ordnance, experimental, absolute power, total control of the world, its people, wealth, and resources. That's the objective of Cobra Commander. This fanatical leader rules with an iron fist. He demands total loyalty and allegiance. His main battle plan for world control relies on revolution and chaos. He personally led uprisings in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and other trouble spots, responsible for kidnapping scientists, businessmen, and military leaders, then forcing them to reveal their top secrets. Cobra Commander likes to be up front in the thick of the action when his Vipers, Eels, and CGs confront the G.I. Joe team to protect their leader in the heat of battle. The best technical minds of Destro's armament factory created a special suit of body armor that combines flexible bulletproof polymer fabrics with beryllium steel plate components. The entire suit is air-conditioned, solvent-resistant, and ray-shielded.